So this is my family. Holly and I have done the doTERRA business really from the beginning, and we've done it together, potentially much like the Millers. Guys, I don't know if you guys did it from the beginning. Jim, did you work with her? And actually, I can't see your chat, so it doesn't really matter. But that's actually somewhat uncommon. We were a lot of times the spouse comes on board to doTERRA, somewhat after the first one starts up. But we did it from the beginning, and honestly, we were looking to start a business that we could do together, and our skill sets were so different that we didn't know if that was ever going to happen. But once doTERRA came along, we kind of knew that was going to be it. And well, after I got over the MLM phobia that I had, but after that, it was all good. And so doTERRA's been pretty life-changing for us. It sent our lives really on a completely different trajectory. I quit my IT career of about 20 years. Holly quit being an attorney after 14 years. What we do now is so much more rewarding and fun than anything we used to do in our past careers. So I truly want to share with you guys what I can to help you, reach that same level of success, or whatever that definition of levels of success that you need is for you, and to reach that and then surpass it. So that's a little bit about placements and kind of why we're doing that and why this matters. All right. And so before we get into, placements is an important topic. And it's one that can get complicated. So before we get into like strategy and some of the other placement stuff, what I'd like to do is really talk about what's changed, and really what provoked this topic in the first place. And in short, it's the wholesale customer. And I still, if I say wellness customer, just forgive me, it's actually wholesale customer. Okay, so I have been saying that over and over. But basically, the wholeness customer, the wholesale customer is in, preferred member is out, and the 90-day premier move is now gone. Now, for a lot of people, you may not have even been aware of the 90-day premier move because it just may have never been something that mattered. But basically, that was when you had a wellness advocate that was able to reach premier within the 90-day period from their enrollment. And at that point, if they did, you were able to move them out and put them somewhere else on your team. Which, typically someone moving that fast, you're looking to put them on your front line or something like that. So that's kind of the mindset behind it. Well, that's gone, but what they have replaced with it is so much better. So, sorry, I just dropped my mic drop. Preferred members were automatically upgraded to wholesale customers. So if you had preferred members, they're now automatically wholesale customers. At renewal date, what? Okay. At renewal date, wellness advocates who do not have anyone under them will get an email giving them the choice to stay as a wellness advocate or be converted to a wellness customer. All right. So this is really cool because it more properly represents the customer-oriented culture of doTERRA. And this is also unheard of in other MLMs. Most MLMs, even ones with good products, once a person realizes that they aren't going to make any money or lots of money, they tend to quit. And it's interesting because we recognize the large customer base that really could care less if they make money or not. In fact, any of us that are in leadership, if I was not making money in doTERRA, I would still be buying my products. So that's just a different culture in doTERRA, and it's one of the reasons why it makes it such a strong business venture. Now, why do we need to have the wholesale customer in the first place? Why was this changed? Why change something that's not broken? Okay, and what we do know is 85% of doTERRA members never enroll anyone, and they're just technically customers. So that's what we know. But number two, it fulfills, let's say, a strong request by the FDA to show those people as actual customers versus distributors. But it also frees them up to speak freely about the love of their products without the corporate speech limitations that are imposed on us. So there are things that we can't say because we do make income off of doTERRA. And so it's interesting because of the shift potentially online and in different places that could happen as a result of that. Number three, it encourages those who are building to have realistic conversations with regard to building a business from the start. Now, I think this is going to be a big deal as well, because before, you know, it was kind of easy to make a person realize the benefits of a wellness advocate over a preferred member, okay? But now they are given the choice of, do you want to be a customer or do you want to have the potential of building a business? And that's really a different question. And so, because otherwise the benefits customer-wise are about the same, all right? And then number four, this is the cool part. It frees builders up to have more flexibility and structure and develop more stable long-term teams. And we're going to get into that here in a minute. All right, so what is a wholesale customer? Now, to be honest, it's easier to focus on what is different in a wholesale customer and a wellness advocate than it is to focus on the similarities, because there are so many similarities. So what it is not is it cannot have a downline. So that means it can't benefit from the incentive trips like the Jasmine and Rose things and stuff like that, because obviously they require enrollments. They cannot resell any product, okay, because obviously that would be making income. One of the benefits to some people is they don't have to give their social security number. Now, the reason is, of course, that we require it in the first place is because the government requires it, all right? And so that's something that makes the getting into doTERRA a very simple process for people. There is no personal website. So in other words, they don't have the website that we have where we can send someone to buy product, okay? They do, however, have a website to where they can do their ordering, okay? And so much like our website, our back office, except minus a lot of the office part, okay? And then finally, no commissions whatsoever. Now, what does that mean to you? So as a wellness advocate who's building doTERRA, what does that mean to you? And is it a good thing? Now, in short, it totally changes how you build and structure your team along the way. And the more I thought about it, and the more I have seen it, the more I've realized that it can really revolutionize the way you build your team. And it's all in good ways. So let's dig in and see what we've got. So here's my intention. Now, most of what I say today will have some exception that invalidates it, okay? And that's just, again, with everything in doTERRA, it depends is probably the best answer that I can give based on any question asked. Now, however, you know, if you follow these guidelines, at least as a rule of thumb, then assess each exception with severe prejudice, you'll likely be a lot closer to making wise decisions. All right. Now, my intention is also to give you a basic understanding of placement's logic. But, and this is a huge but, I can't impress enough on you to reach upline and get specific help and mentoring with regard to your placement strategy. Because number one, your placement affects their income, but it's also, if it's good for them, because of the way the comp plan is designed, if it's good for them, it's probably good for you too. But sometimes a short-term gain is a long-term cost, and they've been in longer, and they can see that bigger vision potentially a little easier than you can. So I highly recommend looking up, making sure that you guys are working as a team to build that together, because what you do matters, and what you also do duplicates. And so you want to make sure that you're doing best practice. All right. Let's see what else we got here. All right. Second point is to give you a full understanding of how to positively utilize the wholesale customer. It really does change some things. And in my opinion, it gives us a lot more flexibility in our strategy, which is a good thing. So here's where we go. All right. So All right, so there's really four things that we play, four reasons that we place someone. Okay, now strategy is important because it equates to the efficient success in doTERRA, but a lot of factors play into it, and to a level it can be extremely simple. But when you're building something for the long term, you want to build it with a strong foundation. Okay, so the first reason, and I would say the most important reason, if you're looking for long-term goals, is to advance in rank. You place someone to shore up low volume and lag, or in order to work them to their work to that next volume or rank goal. And then number two would be Power 3, which you're familiar with Power 3 being the 50, 250, and 1500. Long-term, only builders you want to go on your 50 level Power 3, okay? At least in the beginning. Now, once you've got a longer structured, wider team, then you're putting builders in other places to strengthen and double back and stuff. But in the beginning, you're looking to put builders on your front line, okay? And then you're looking to place builders and sharers on your 250 level. And then finally, customers on your 1500 level, your third level. But in the beginning, you're going to have to place them wherever you need them and wherever you can, because you just don't have enough people in there. And so the wellness customer has really opened up a lot about how we can build for Power 3. To be honest, I taught to build to not build toward Power 3 because of what some of the long-term effects were, and really the wellness customer is starting to fix that. So I'm seeing some benefits there. Now, along the way, you get to benefit from building your Power 3, but then you can transition and create it better as you go. And I'm going to show that here in a little bit. Number three, as a leader, you've got to realize that your success is up to you, no one else. If you don't like your rank, you can't complain up or down. Now, you can mentor, you can ask for help, but the complaining part doesn't really help unless you're looking for, this is what I've done, how do I fix it? But beyond that, you need to look in the mirror. So that's how you fix your rank, is you. We have to remember that everyone does this business at different speeds. We all come in with different talents. Some come in with all the talents they need to succeed right out of the bat. And if so, they're going to move faster than those that came in with some challenges that they needed to work through, maybe limiting beliefs of some form. So don't penalize them by ignoring their leg, but rather place people under them and in order to support their efforts, and from your perspective, to support your next rank by grouping that volume together. And I think that's the part that's, it'll become clear when I start showing the pictures. But in general, it's amazing, what it does for a person who's working hard to build their team, and they're 200 short from a rank, and you place a person in that leg that takes them over. It's a huge feeling of team effort. But again, if they hit a new rank, what does that do for you? So it becomes a win-win. And then finally, placement is also about building residual. You don't want to hit a rank and lose it. You want to build for stability and residual, but also continued growth. In other words, you want your team making money as well as feeling that they're making a difference. Whether they're making a difference in themselves, in others, in the world, that depends on their goals, right? But they need to believe in the business enough to continue on, so that they'll have their breakthrough. And those of us who have been in the business long enough realize it's not just one breakthrough. You continue to have breakthrough after breakthrough. And I believe it was mentioned earlier, new level, new devil. And I think we continue to break through those new levels, and suddenly there's this new devil that we have to deal with, and we have to learn to break through that as well. Hey, Nicholas, could you give me water? Yeah, thank you. I meant to get that before I started. It's starting to get dry. So anyway, this ensures that really ensures what you need to have for long-term business growth. Now, basic placement strategy. All right, the idea is very simple, right? You keep the front line sacred, meaning that you filled it only with builders. Then you work your way down, and so do your builders. Voila, your with 3 legs, it can take you all the way to platinum, right? But thank you so much. But reality is it doesn't exactly build that way, right? Especially when we walk in to doTERRA with our filters of the world completely intact. And filters like the ones that I had, MLMs are all schemes, okay? Or there's no way an essential oil could be that powerful. If I eat good, I don't need supplements, all right? So the list goes on. And all of these filters can take time to bring down in some people. And depending on their level, depending on your level of confidence, compassion, competence, conviction, and customer service. So I'm gonna say those again. So it's 5 C's, and it is your level of confidence, compassion, competence, conviction, and customer service. How the level that you bring of that to the table will determine how fast they drop their filters because of your confidence. I always say that my confidence overcomes your doubt. And the more confident that you are, the more compassion that you have on the person. In other words, you're going to show up and help them because they need physical, they're dealing with a health challenge, or they're dealing with something, or it could just be emotional challenge, right? And I say just, everybody knows that emotional challenges can be even worse and debilitating than physical. And luckily, hang in here, because after I get through yapping, Kristen Van Way will be coming up to talk about all that. So anyway, so what do? Now more than ever, you need to identify your enrollee. Okay, it's more than ever, and it's now more than ever. It's important to properly help a person define where they fit into doTERRA. Many times we get so excited that a person wants to enroll that we don't ask those important questions, or we fail to share the business opportunity with them due to our filters again that we have now placed on them. And some examples of that are, well, she doesn't want to do the business because she's got kids and she's a busy person, and she doesn't want to because she's got limited finances, or she's got limited time, or she's just a customer. The list goes on. And to be honest, it's generally our fault when they don't even know what they said no to. So we really have to come to the table with those 5 C's and see what we can do to give them that vision that they want. They just don't know it's you. And so now the customer versus advocate choice in the very beginning before enrollment, it gives you that opportunity to explain the benefits of sharing doTERRA with others and the financial incentives for doing so. And I think now it should be a lot more comfortable of a conversation, because legitimately they have to make a choice. Well, what is your job is to provide them the information necessary to properly make the choice, just like we do when we're helping them pick out a kit. Okay, so it's the same thing, and it is just as important. So if you don't explain to them about the business side, don't you think they're going to wonder why in the world you're doing it? Like, if you're doing it as a business, why wouldn't you think that they're good enough to do it with you? So it kind of makes you wonder, right? So just because here's a great example. Just because you offer someone a slice of chocolate pie, does it mean that they have to eat it? No. If they're allergic to chocolate, do you think they're going to be offended because you offered it? Probably not. And if they are, you're going to kind of get some answers on how they're going to show up in your organization. So it kind of gives you a lot of feedback, right? So it's just something to think about. All right. So let's take a break from the customer for a moment, and let's just look at, let's say that they chose to be a wellness advocate. Now, by the very definition at this point, they chose between the option of not making money and the option of making money. So the conversation is a little easier now about, okay, you chose to be a wellness advocate, which means you're interested at least in sharing, okay? And so that should be a somewhat of an easier conversation. And so after all, they didn't give you their social for their health, right? They did it to make money. And so now it's your obligation to show them how. But how do you know? How do you know if they're serious or if they're going to be in the someday category? I might, okay? Because that happens as well. Now, what I have learned is, I believe Neil kind of covered this a little bit. Words are cheap and action is real, okay? So action almost fixes, it fixes virtually everything, okay? And so, you know, this applies to your existing builders as well, okay? So it doesn't mean that they won't someday, but if if you're building the business now, their someday doesn't exactly fit your goal, right? Again, you got to look in the mirror and say, what am I going to do about it? Okay, because it is their business, and so they get to choose how fast they operate. Now, the way you can tell, at least some of the ways that you can tell about this new wellness advocate, is watch what they do. So if you sent them a video, did they watch it? All right. When you sent them an educational link of any sort, are they contacting you about questions about it? Or is it, oh yeah, I haven't looked at that yet. Are they probing for ideas on how to build? In other words, are they wanting to brainstorm, how can I make this fit into what I do? Okay. What kind of communication do they have with you in general? Are they kind of coming back to you and saying, I used this oil and it wasn't really working that great. Do you have any other ideas, or are they just off the radar? Okay. So that kind of gives you some ideas of how they're showing up. And I'll tell you, if you're dragging a person in the most excited point of their career, there's a high chance that that's not going to change very much. Okay. So again, this doesn't mean that they're not ever going to build, but it does give you an idea, at least on how fast they intend to build. How long do you have during that phase? You got 14 days. Okay. So with a wellness advocate, you have 14 days. And the reason I say that is at the point where they've made the decision to get in, you got 14 days to move them, okay, to somewhere else on your team. The kit takes about 3 to 4 days to order or to come in, okay? Depending on where you are in the country, it could be a little bit more. Based on what typically happens, you've got to get them on, let's say it takes 4 days to come in, you want to schedule with them on that 5th day to ensure that they know how to use the back office, help them set up their LRP, show them how to navigate their back office, stuff like that. If they don't want to set up their LRP, you know immediately that they really aren't sure if they want to build or not. They love the idea, but they're not sure if they want to, okay? Because LRP is kind of required, right? So if you're choosing to build slow, it might not be a big deal. But if you want to grow fast, then you got to have people on your front line that want to grow at your pace. And if they don't show up as a builder, move them before the 14 days are up. Now, you can use that. I'll cover that in a little bit. So don't place a person on your front line because you just aren't sure where else to place them, okay? Now, again, if you're brand new and you have no one on your front line, what are you going to do, okay? So that's okay. And again, none of this is 100%. And again, the key to solve all problems is action. So if you goof, you just enroll another person, all right? So know what you're wanting to do with that person prior to enrolling them. A lot of times, you can find out what's going on in their head before you even get them enrolled, and make it a practice that you have shown them the vision and that you're encouraging them to change your mind. Okay, so when you place, explain to them and the sponsor. All right. So let's say you're initially enrolling them. I typically recommend not initially enrolling someone on your front line. I initially enroll them somewhere else in my team. And then they've got 14 days to convince me that they need to be somewhere else. Does that make sense? So again, if you're treating something as a business, do you hire 15 CEOs when you start a business? Not usually. You hire a hierarchy, because unlike other thoughts, it is a pyramid. Like corporations are pyramids, and there's a reason for that. Okay, because so you got to think of it from that standpoint, as far as from strategy, that you need people in levels to support you. All right, let's see here. All right. So the reason that you want to tell both the builder and the sponsor that you place them is so that if you do decide to move them, that sponsor doesn't get shocked. And I typically say, look, here's what I'm doing. I don't really know what this guy's going to do yet, but I'm going to place him here because if he ends up just being a user, and again, I use that term probably poorly. There's no such thing as just a user. Okay. So I want to make sure you're clear on that. I don't mean it that way, but if the builder that I'm placing under, as well as myself, are looking for a potential builder and the person ends up being a customer instead, I'm more likely to leave that person where they're at, okay? But if they turn out to be really what I need somewhere else on my team, I don't want the person that I sponsored them under to get upset, okay? So again, communication's key. And if you communicate things before, usually hard feelings don't happen. All right. And so the more you can communicate up front, the better. All right. Now let's flip on the other side. That was a wellness advocate. Now let's look at a customer. So a customer also, you're given 14 days to decide exactly where to put them. Now use that 14 days. It's a little different how you handle them. So you use that 14 days to ensure that they have access to additional information along the way. Ensure they get a lifestyle overview with you as soon as their kid arrives. The best way to ensure this is to schedule the kit opening around the time where you are certain that the kit will be there. In other words, as soon as they enroll, at that point of enrolling, you say, so excited that you enrolled. What time on your schedule is available? I'd love to schedule a time where we can go over your kit opening and really do a lifestyle overview for you, because I want to maximize, I want to make sure that the investment that you made, I want to make sure that this investment, that you get your money's worth out of it. Okay. All right. Make sure that that's not for me. Okay. And when you do get to meet with them for that overview, make it the best overview you've ever done. All right. And what does that mean? I think Neil covered this earlier, is that you have to be in the point of continuing to up your game, because you are, I don't mean this badly, but you are the tool. So don't be a tool, but seriously, you are honing your craft. You're the only thing that has to get fixed. Everything else, the compensation plan, everything else about this system, the product is amazing. The compensation plan is fantastic. The company has high integrity. It's all we have to work on is us. How beautiful is that, right? We don't have to worry about shipping. We don't have to worry about inventory. None of that. It's none of our problem, which is fantastic. So the goal basically for that customer is for you to provide more value to that person. All right. And this is the best opportunity to ensure that the 14 days are not gone before you even meet with them again. All right. And it also, of course, ensures that they get the most out of their membership. Now, if kits are taking a while to come in for some reason, here's what I do. I will use samples to get them on the path of whatever their health challenge was before their kit even comes. All right. And the reason I do that is as soon as they hit the enroll button, or the submit button rather, they are automatically doubting, did I make a good decision or not? All right. And so what you don't want is for them to contemplate for the next 5 to 6 days while that kit comes, whether or not they made a bad decision. And so, explain to them that, you just want to make sure that they start having a shift as soon as possible. All of these options give them the opportunity to remain excited, but it also expands what they thought was possible with doTERRA. So by giving them samples to kind of help them along the way, in fact, sometimes I have sold a bottle of lemon. Let's say they're getting in with a cleanse, okay? And they choose to do the Natural Solutions kit, and they're going to get the cleanse, as they go. I may give them a bottle of lemon in order to start them on that wellness journey, just to put lemon in their water for, until their kit comes. You'd be surprised what happens with just lemon in their water, right? So it's amazing. Little things like that can make a huge difference in someone along the way. Now, let's see. All right, so the reason that you're doing this, and it matters now more than ever, But the reason that you want to do this is you, as a customer, their benefit to you from a business perspective, outside of just helping people, but from a business perspective, their benefit to you is a consistent LRP over 100. So that supports your power of three, and it supports volume, okay, depending on where you put them. And that's really the biggest asset that they are as a customer to you, okay? But you're also wanting to prepare for the event that they flip the switch and go advocate on you, okay? And so we'll get into that in a minute with regard to strategy, but having a good idea of how strong of a customer that they are and ensuring that they are the best customer possible from the standpoint of use, number one, ensures that they get their money's worth, i.e. you provided high value. And number two, it gives you options because they could flip from a customer to a share or builder when they have seen a dramatic experience with the oils, okay? Now, so why are customers so cool? Now, that's kind of all been in there, but we're gonna really narrow it down now. So you can move them in the first 14 days, just like an advocate. Now, how many times, number two, how many times have you needed to fill in a power of three spot or 1600 team volume, but you didn't want to put this potential builder there, right? How many times has that happened? And so now, luckily, the customer kind of solves this, because if they end up a customer, even if you thought, man, I just knew this guy was going to be a big builder, and then he chooses customer, like, what was he thinking, right? Well, he was making a choice for him, not you. And so that's what he was thinking. And so wherever you put a customer, their volume counts just like anyone else's. So for number three, it supports volume. Now, this allows you to fill in volume gaps with customers without so much worry of placing them incorrectly. Now, you can place them at any level in order to support rank advancement for yourself, but also your team. Now, this allows, it's huge for flexibility and allows you to really place based on your personal needs, as well as not pushing them sooner than they want to. But you've still got the flexibility with that person in the future. And that's really where the cool part is number five. So this is the best part of the customer is once they've been a customer for 90 days, if they decide to switch and become an advocate, you can move that person anywhere in your organization that you choose. This is really where the power of the customer really lies, especially once you've got a few builders on your team that are rolling, okay? In the very beginning, it's a little scary. It's like, oh my God, I've got all customers, right? But let's see here. So I'll explain that here in a second. I thought that was coming up. All right, so before we get to this next slide, let's recap for just a second. Elite is really your first major rank goal, right? Now, and if you're a builder and you're silver and above or whatever, or you're premier, it is your builder's first rank goal. So regardless of where you're at, this matters, okay? Now, there are other ranks along the way, director, executive, manager, etc. But really none of those, including elite, have any structural requirement until after you get past elite. So in other words, if you have 29 people on your front line, each of them doing 100 PV, and you're doing 100, you're elite. It wouldn't be ideal, but you'd be elite, okay? So now, for those aspiring to be diamond, what do you have to do first? Well, you've got to prove that you can go elite. Now, if you can go elite, all you have to do is find 12 other people and teach them how to go elite, and you're diamond, okay? And what I mean by that is you find 4 builders, which all will go silver, and those silvers obviously have 3 elites under each of them. That's 12 total. So 12 total elites is all it really takes to go diamond. Now, looking at it that way, it seems like, man, that's a piece of cake, right? It can be a little more complex than that, but there is a lot of simplicity in looking at it from that perspective, okay? Now, prior to the customer, this is what I see often happen on a person's team. And I don't know how many people I've got on there. 6, 9. I've got 9 people. I have seen front lines that have 17 people and more on them. Okay. And, you know, the person enrolls, they get excited. They enroll lots of people. They don't really know much about what they're doing. They're just excited about the oils because they love them. And they certainly don't understand the business. And so they don't talk about the business. And therefore, everybody ends up on their front line because who knows, one of them might do something. You know, well, that's a customer. That's a customer. I don't know what to do with them. So I'll just keep putting them on my front line and maybe it'll just work itself out. The challenge is this obviously waters down your efforts. All right. And it minimizes how their income or how their volume is going to be able to support anyone else on your team. And it also highly increases your workload. Not to mention, when you look at the unilevel pay structure, it's a whopping 2%. So you put them all on your front line, you're making 2% on them. Okay, so clearly doTERRA doesn't intend for you to have a large front line. That's just not how it's designed. There are a lot of chats going on, and I apologize. I'm not able to see any of those chats. I'm hoping one of the other diamonds is answering those. And I'm hoping to finish a little early so that we can have some comments at the end. So ironically, this is the very fear that I've heard with regard to the customer, because again, customers can't have anyone enrolled under them. So a new person ends up with a large front line. Now, I would love to know how many on this call immediately started building. All right. For most of us, it took a little bit, right? Maybe, I don't know, 60 to 90 days before they really started, deciding, I think I can do this. I want to do this. They knew enough, whatever. That's the beauty of it. So now a person decides, let's say even 60 days in, they decide, I think I want to do this. Well, unless they have people lined up immediately that are wanting to enroll, you can spend the next 30 days preparing their list, learning how to teach a class, watching videos. And by the time that 90 days hits, they've already got a class or two scheduled, and they get to enroll the people, new people, the week that they get in. Now, do you think that would pump some people up if they started off, they're in 6 months, a year, whatever, and then they decide to build, and within the point where they decide to build, boom, they've already got a team going, and you have options as well to help that. So watch this. Let's see, I'm skipping around. One thing I wanted to say is this type of flexibility, other companies don't do this. The idea of moving people is ridiculously not common, okay? And so they can't even touch this. Now, let's see here. All right, so let's, I was trying to figure out where I'm at here. All right, so let's say that this gets created in maybe a few months, all right? And as the customer continues to get educated. Now, let me explain this a little bit on the front. So you got Susie the builder, and my builders are colored purple, okay? And all the customers are green. And Mary, who's also decided to be a builder, she's got some volume outside of these customers that are yours, okay? So you've got all these green customers are your customers, okay? So I'm just trying to put this in perspective. And so again, you've enrolled a bunch of people, you got one builder, cool. Now you started putting your customers under that one builder, okay? So now it's still a mess though, right? And so, but she's got some extra volume outside of that, and then she's got one builder, and that one has a little volume outside of that, okay? So they're at 500. Now, okay. So now over the few months, Susie's able to find her one builder named Mary, and Mary found one other builder as well. Now, both Susie and Mary found a whole bunch of customers. Susie's been getting paid her $50 power bonus, power of 3 bonus, right? Because you got a bunch of people in the front line. You're easily meeting your 600 team volume. So she's getting her $50. It's exciting. She's making a little bit of unilevel, not that much, 2%, remember. But now they're all becoming educated. And so she continues to educate her customers. And now several are wanting to share. So what if Susie converted just a percentage of those customers to builders? Let's say 30% of her front line, and she was able to convert those into sharers or builders. The sharers being the, I'll have a class type people. The builders are the, I can do this and I want to, those type people. Now, what does it look like? All right, so there's the builder. So now you get to move your people under this new builder. So those three, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, these three flipped, became wellness advocates, and you shifted all of them under this one, and you shifted that one under this one here. So now suddenly you've got some structure going. You're helping her out with team volume, and now she's able to put people in. Okay, is this making sense? So now notice this. Susie still gets to keep her power of 3, okay, including the needed team volume. But she's also got most of her 250 finished, and she's already working on her 1500. 1500 is this level down here. This guy and this guy, they're on the 1500. Plus, it's possible, this one would have some as well, okay? The builder that is unnamed, the 500 builder. All right, and so now, how excited do you think Susie is at this point? She decides, now she's got some serious builders, and her volume is going straight up too. How excited do you think the new builder is that she's almost got her 50 filled out? So, and then as people are having classes under her, okay, because again, they made the decision, I want to build. So all you have to do as a builder is to continue to enroll, and you can continue to fill in those spots, and the likelihood of finding that builder continues to go up. Now, this also benefits the customer. And so since you don't know who will end up a builder, and you do your best to educate every customer, all right, that's, because now they're not just a customer stuck on your front line, they're a potential sharer or builder who just hasn't had enough reason yet. And my goal is to educate a reason into them, okay? And so once I've educated a reason into them to share or build, now they can be moved into somewhere that will strategically help your rank. Cool, huh? Now, hopefully this is starting to get you to see the benefits of the customer and how it can really help launch. And again, it's kind of got this like 90-day lag time, but then suddenly once it starts doing, and you consistently keep putting in new customers and builders as they come, the culture that's created is fantastic. Plus, it really incentivizes you to continue to educate your customers, which I think is part of what really started missing in over this past year. Okay, now. This is the reason that you want to restructure your customers, all right? Because Premier, from Elite, Premier is the next rank, and it does have structure, all right? And so by being able to educate these customers, shifting some of them into sharers and builders, you get to reorganize, in essence, your team. And now you've got a couple of builders that are willing to lock arms with you and say, yeah, I want this too. So if a customer on your second level needs help, now you've got someone else in the support chain that can help that customer. It's not just you. So suddenly now you're getting help along the way with people that you're putting in, because after all, it's helping them and you. Okay. Now, so you've been in, let's say you've been in a while, and you have some builders, all right? Perhaps you've made it to Premier, maybe even Silver above. The person says, or even if you're not at Premier, you've got 2 people that have already locked arms with you, okay? So you've got real builders. And this person says, I want to be a wellness advocate, meaning I want to make income, okay? Now where do you put them, all right? So in other words, who gets to hit your front line, and when should it happen? We always teach to solidify whatever rank that you're at before you jump to the next one. And there are multiple reasons for that, but we always recommend making sure that you've got your current rank solid, and before you just jump to the next one, because especially when it requires adding an additional leg. Okay, now you have to be even more cautious of a wellness advocate placement because you don't have the premier move and 90-day option anymore. All right, so it really wasn't used that often, but it was a tool that could be used to kind of encourage a new person to kind of get it in gear, like treat it as a business, right? And so now that we've got the customer, I don't know that it's really that big of a deal. I don't know that it's hardly needed anymore. All right, so here's the recommended placements. Again, this is given as a general rule, not as a hard, fast, only way to do it. Okay, obviously sometimes personalities come into play, relationships, etc. But as we usually say in everything in doTERRA, it depends, right? But here's the general guideline. Now, placing leaders and builders on your first level will give you so much more time as you begin to grow your team, and because you've got dedicated people who are committed to growing their own team, and subsequently will help you grow your team. Okay, so remember, they're in business for themselves, but not by themselves. They will be in a position to support customers that you place on their second and third levels. They will be working with you as a team to reach goals together. You're not going to have to fight them to place their order. Okay, you don't have to push a rope. All right. Now, after hearing this, you might realize, oh my God, I'm the rope. Okay, and so it's possible. All right, but it's okay, because you can at any point make the decision to shift your mindset and take a higher level of responsibility. And again, it is your business, so you get to play how you want to play. Just recognize that there are levels that can play for success, and there are levels that can play for less than success. Okay, so then you've got your number two, your sharers. Sharers are fantastic second and third level people, as they many times become builders and leaders. But until they do, they're great power of three placement, plus they're great volume for your first level leader. Okay, and then finally, be careful putting sharers on your front line. Sometimes you have to do it just because that's where you're at in your growth, and so they just have to go there, and that's okay. But just realize they signed on as a sharer, and so sometimes as your rank advancement goes, they may still be a sharer, and you have to be okay with that. All right. So third level, or number three, is customers. Customers, you fill in the blanks that you've got in your organization. Missing power of three spot here, missing volume shortage there, that sort of thing. You place them based on relationships and who they would get along with, who they can learn best from, where they're geographically located, and you want them, basically you want them to be nurtured, okay, but not just by you. And I like users typically I like users on my third level because that gives them two levels of leadership that they can rely on to get product support and get their questions answered if I'm not available. So if I'm on the road or in a class or in the middle of nowhere, they still have a backup on how to get help. And I always, if I want them to do that, I always make sure that they've got that connection. Okay. The difference is they do it on their time. I'm sorry, the shares could turn into builders, but they do it on their time, not yours. Okay. And your job is to simply educate the customers who could potentially turn into sharers and potentially turn into builders. But they have to do it on their time, not yours. All right. Now, here's what I really want you to understand. I have heard, well, don't put them on my front line because, I don't want them on my front line if they're not good enough for your front line. Okay. And so, first of all, everyone is on someone's front line, right? And so it isn't like the person isn't good enough to hit my front line. That's not it at all. All that come into doTERRA are loved and appreciated. And we support them at any level that they want to be supported. And I think that's the key phrase, at the level they want to be supported. So if a person coming in is a customer and truly doesn't see themselves building, or they have life issues in the way, or whatever the reason is, this doesn't mean that they'll never build, but it means they won't build right now. So if you're a builder and you're working, to place people and enroll people that you're carefully placing in critically strategic places, i.e. your front line, you want to do that with people who, you don't want to do that with people who have no desire to build at the pace that you want to, okay? And so I really think that the customer is going to continue to help resolve that, that feeling. All right. Yeah. I'm going to skip that. All right. So this is something that we see some, and it can really get you into trouble. So be careful talking about talking someone into building. You want to convince them that they need to build because they can do it, or because they can make extra income, or because it can resolve their dreams and their goals. It should not be because you're going to build it for them. Okay. Now this is asking for trouble, and it typically fails over time, and it creates a lot of drama. So a proper interview, so they understand the business model, and that they understand what they're saying yes to or no to, is so important, and it can eliminate that need to promise them things that is ultimately going to cost you later. So just because you want them on your front line doesn't mean they need to be, or even want it themselves. So if they still want to be a customer after you have explained to them the benefits, then focus on educating them on the products so they realize how powerful doTERRA is, and let them make the decision to ship at a later date, which now they can. So that pressure should be taken off some. Okay? Now, here's some of the reasons that we fall into these traps. Usually it has to do with not explaining the business from the start. Again, that's kind of hopefully resolved if you're explaining from the get-go. Placing someone based on what you want versus what they need, that can create issues. Placing people under a customer, I said user, I should have said customer instead of a builder, which now, well, I take that back. Placing people under a user, in other words, a wellness advocate that is still in, that was in before the customer phase, instead of a builder, in order to help your power through. And because obviously the customer is only a few months old, most of our teams are filled with wellness advocates, and a lot of them are wellness advocate users that just happen to have a team, okay? And so, building too slow. The slower you build, the fewer options that you're given with regard to placement, because when you create momentum and you create excitement, then suddenly you've got, oh, well, if that one doesn't work out, then this one is. And honestly, fear is what creates a lot of those issues as well. Sometimes it's done intentionally. So with family members, you've got to know what's costing you when you decide that you're going to help a family member build out. And I kind of skipped that part because we're running out of time. All right. So when you first start, begin with the end in mind. This is specifically wellness advocate, or when you're enrolling a new wellness advocate, have them consider those who they want to hang out with, they want to vacation with, they want to be friends with for a long time. Inspire them using your upline support. Help them see that vision of what they can create. Teach your new people as they get in to make a list first of all their people, not just the ones that they think would do this. It doesn't mean they're contacting them all, okay? And then use successful upline to talk to some of these people that you really want to work with, that you say, man, this person would be great. But don't expect that you're going to have all those answers when you're first starting out. Because the vision, it can take time, okay? And getting that support is big. Now, the reason that we talk so much about Premier is because a lot of people can get to silver and then they get stuck. And the biggest thing is, and this is what I really love about the customer, because I really think it's going to allow new silvers that are coming on board using the customer at its power, will allow them to, if they properly manage and educate those customers, to restructure along the way, which will take them to gold a lot faster. And if you notice, Going from silver to gold doubles your income. And so that's obviously good, but it also preps you for moving toward platinum. Again, momentum is king. Everybody wants more mo, all right? Now, depth doesn't mean dead legs. And I got 3 minutes. Depth doesn't mean dead legs. So just because you've got a person this is an existing wellness advocate, all they do is their $100 a P, and you've kind of made some mistakes in the past and you've put people under them. Just because you did that does not mean that is a dead leg, because if you have a person down and deep that turns into a builder, that is not a useless leg. It will still take you to elite, or that person can still go elite, that existing wellness advocate, and then that will take you to silver, okay, in that leg. But then what you do is you simply focus on these premiers. You focus on that builder, and that one. And you get them to premier, and that will take you to gold. Now, what we have seen is when a person in depth begins to succeed, these other guys start to see things change, and they're like, it does work. And they're a little shocked to that, okay? And so suddenly, this person your top level existing wellness advocate can turn into a builder, which then gives you double redundancy in essence for that leg, which is fantastic. All right. Bottom line. So it's a goal to share the wealth. If you're a high enroller, placing people under other builders is the best way to speed your team to reaching ranks and gaining income for themselves. If you want to grow fast, enroll. Sitting and waiting for your builders to reach levels is not how you become a leader or a high rank, okay? Placing in depth doesn't mean you don't benefit. It means you all benefit. Remember that you're paid higher percentages in depth than the front line, and creating momentum, it gives a feeling of teamwork. And it gives them that thought of my upline is supportive and wants me to succeed, and they will tend to do things for you as well. Now, none of this is 100%, and it doesn't have to be, okay? You don't have to have a perfect, I don't know how many diamonds that I know that say, yeah, I don't have perfect structure, but they're diamond, okay? So it works. So this is just some tips to kind of give you some ideas to avoid some mistakes along the way, but guaranteed you'll make them and you move on. And again, you fix it by enrolling more people, okay? And then finally, you can look like that. You don't have to look like the previous, okay? And now, so believe in the potential. It is real. It does take real work, but it is not working an hour and getting paid X dollars. It is truly building a pipeline, and you've got to look at it like that. If I had counted the hours that I spent and felt as though, am I getting paid what I'm worth? That would have not worked out. So you can't look at it that way. You've got to realize that you're building for the future. And then finally, keep it fun. This is the most fun that Holly and I have ever had working. And so I appreciate you guys, and I'm sorry I ran all the way to 5 o'clock.